guidelines for you.
Right. Did that one start?
Oh yeah.
Look. Fuck me. Lift it up. Lift my thing up.
What?
See that? See the thing on my phone?
No, it's not in the video. Don't worry.
I know. Lift it up.
What do you mean? It's fine like this.
Saying it'll help hold the phone, no?
No, it's fine.
Oh, you want that part?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the one I go for my head.
Don't take that line from you. Okay, ready?
1, 2, 3.
Raise your voice.
Welcome to our podcast.
Where we're going to be discussing issues of neoliberalism and hedonism.
What is hedonism? And what is neoliberalism? When did the influence of neoliberalism spread to the United States? Is it morally justified that our new president, Donald Trump, is imposing neoliberal policies? These are the issues that we're going to be talking about today. So first off, let's start off with what is hedonism and how is it affecting our society?
Well, Abraham, first of all, many of us may be familiar with the philosophy of hedonism as the pursuit of pleasure and the primary motivation in life. Humans naturally seek pleasure and try to avoid pain.
So would you say our society today is becoming more and more hedonistic?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, definitely.
I see lots of my friends doing this, spending money in music festivals, raves, shopping, video games. After Obama helped the economy recover by creating new jobs, people have more purchasing power to spend on these activities. But so often, people become distracted from their responsibilities by indulging themselves in these hedonistic materials and activities that they think makes them happy.
Yeah, and even stuff like buying new iPhones, waiting in line for the new shoes that are coming out, like the new Jordans. I see my friends doing this all the time. We are living in an era of hedonism.
Yeah.
People buy things to make themselves happy, but these things are not necessarily a necessity.
And I think people instinctively seek pleasure in everything that they do. So for many people, the desire for short-term pleasure is the purpose and motivation that drives them.
If you can go shopping every day and buy a purse, would you do it?
No shit, I wouldn't.
So that's why I think that we become so obsessed with materialism that we become distracted from many of our problems today. Let's say neoliberalism. It's a radical form of liberalism that is also prevalent in our world today, especially after my man Donald Trump stepped into office.
Well, guys, I'm not entirely sure what neoliberalism is.
Nobody is.
There's just been so much buzz around the world, and recently that the meaning just become messed up.
Everyone has a different interpretation
Yeah,
of what
so-
neoliberalism is.
Yeah, okay, well, to start, let's give a definition to what liberalism is. Since Malcolm is the expert in politics, why don't we have you describe it?
Serious.
Well, there are many interpretations of liberalism, but in general, liberals favor the individual liberty, basic human rights, preservation of democracy, and a laissez-faire market economy. Many people in the US today hold liberal views in politics.
Okay, so with that in mind, we have an idea of what liberalism is. Can you explain to Amin what neoliberalism is?
Yeah.
Sure, from what I understand and believe, neoliberalism is a support for a free market with minimal government intervention. The focus of this ideology is to deregulate financial industries, privatization of services, decrease in unions, and major tax cuts.
Okay, Malcolm. So how can that be bad for us? Wouldn't free markets enable competitions and better quality services?
But I think neoliberalism at its core is that free markets and free trades will self-regulate because because market mechanisms have an optimal way of organizing the exchanges of goods and services.
Right.
So if you give people the freedom to conduct business in the free market, it will create a competitive environment, which can lead to efficient allocation of certain resources. However, the only proponents of this ideology has been for wealthy corporations and individuals.
Who may benefit?
The rich, exactly.
Yeah.
Wealthy corporations privatize public goods like prisons, energy, and water to be able to change more of these services than when the services were owned by the state. Privatization of jails will keep prisoners working cheap labor while the corporation makes tons of money off of them.
Good example.
Yes, Ibrahim.
Thank you.
These policies only seem to favor the rich over the middle class.
Yeah.
And when did these policies spread to the United States?
Well, the first proponents of neoliberalism started with Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and our President Ronald Reagan in the 1970s. Their purpose is to privatize public services and reduce the influence of the unions. During her time as Prime Minister, Thatcher privatized services like energy and water because she believed that these industries would become more efficient like that.
But what they didn't consider was the well-being of the middle classes, who suffered as a result of these neoliberal policies. So privatization, deregulation allowed big corporations to rake in more money for themselves and create huge income disparities between the middle and upper classes.
Right, and that's the problem in our society today. The rich get richer, and the middle class people like us have to pay more for services just because these corporations want bigger markups.
Not only in that case, but the top 1% of the United States take loopholes to avoid paying their taxes. Our new president, Donald Trump, has yet to disclose his tax returns from the public. Why? Paying income taxes are a civil duty of everyone in the country. How is it ethical that the working class, who's busting their ass every day, have to pay their fair share while the rich think of ways to avoid such responsibilities?
Correct. Well, that has definitely been problematic for our society.
Of course it's been, man. With the budget plan that Trump is proposing, for which those of you who don't know, he's planning to decrease funding in all areas of government agencies besides national defense and security. Agencies like Environmental Protection Agency, Education, and Healthcare are all getting decreases in their funding. And that's going to allow him to have more control over these agencies and impose the neoliberal policies.
Correct.
So, we're moving towards an era of neoliberalism. I think the answer is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
While we indulge in hedonistic materials and activities, we get distracted from the agendas of these politicians. That makes way for these unethical policies